Welcome everyone who's watching. Really appreciate you being here today. And today I'm joined by Meghann Perry, creator, educator, storyteller, teaching artist, facilitator, and recovery coach professional. She's the creator of the powerful recovery storytelling curriculum, as well as many other unique workshops that combine the art and science of recovery coaching with the performing arts, creating transformational experiences that bring resilience, healing, connection, and empowerment to youth and adults from all walks of life. You can learn more about her at meghannperry.com, and you're also going to learn more about her right now. So welcome, Meghann. Really glad to be here with you today. We had a little scheduling difficulty. That's my bad. So we're supposed to be on at 3. I kind of mixed that up, but luckily Meghann had time to get on at 3:30. So welcome, Meghann.
Thank you. I'm excited. Thank you for having me here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So I came across your work, I think on LinkedIn is where I first noticed your work, and it was really appealing because so many of us in recovery have stories, whether that's the process of recovery or in addiction. So I'm really excited to hear some of your thoughts, on, I guess generally the first thing I'd ask you is, how did you come, the short version of how you came into recovery?
Yeah, the short version.
The
That's
short
hard,
version.
right?
I know there's probably so much there, right?
um, I have not that unusual of a story. I started in my early teens, and very quickly it took hold. It was not a slow process. I was really broken by the time I was 17, 18. But it took me a long time. It was many years between that and when I found long-term recovery. But I graduated college with a degree in heroin. I don't even know how I graduated, but it was actually in theater education.
Similar resume, by the way.
Yeah. And it was clear that I was not, able to do that. I got married right after that and went into detox right after that for my first trip through detox. I had just turned 22. And at that time was for heroin. That was the one that really just took me down really, really fast and forced me to look for a solution. And over the years, I went in and out of programs. I've been in dozens of programs, and I've been on methadone, I've been on Suboxone, I've been incarcerated a lot. I do have I have a felony record. I lost custody of my daughter when she was 4. I was in jail facing prison time for drug trafficking when I was pregnant and on methadone. I've been
Yeah, you
through.
definitely qualify.
I definitely qualify. Been through
Yeah.
some stuff. I've been homeless. So there's all of it.
Wow.
Everything you can think of. My last 6 years was more crack and heroin that I was struggling with, and yeah, I ended up going to treatment instead of going to prison. I got a last chance, and that wasn't the end, but it was close to the end.
What was if there is such a thing as a turning point, what was the turning point for you?
Yeah, in terms of my sort of final turning point for recovery, I had gotten recovery and then I was dabbling and nobody knew it. And so I was in the process of getting custody of my daughter back. I really don't recommend this path for anybody, but it's what happened for me, which is that I got her back. I used a couple more times, and the last time that I used, it was Christmas, and I had dropped her off somewhere. I think it was her foster parents' house or whatever for actual Christmas, because I couldn't really provide like a family Christmas for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I had used for 3 days. I was really, really burnt, and I hadn't slept, and it was just, I was in terrible shape. And I went to pick her up, and she jumped in the car, and she was 10 at the time. And she was full of Christmas joy and 10-year-old, optimism and all that. And she just says, "Hey, mommy, how was your Christmas?" And I just, in that moment, my heart just kind of fell into pieces. And that was an awakening for me. It was a surrender that I didn't know was happening in that moment. But ultimately, that's when I couldn't go on anymore. I couldn't do this. I'd just gotten this kid back after 6 years without her. And and my higher power saw fit to use that moment to direct me to some other recovery supports that I hadn't really tried earnestly before. And that was December 28th of 2011.
Wow.
I have not
Yeah, I
missed
could
a
feel
time.
that heart pang when you were sharing that. Yeah. And the recovery supports that did help, if you don't mind sharing, what were
Yeah,
those?
sure. So, I mean, I really believe that every single thing I did over the 20 years it took me um, was what worked, right? That all of them brought me, and along the way, I picked up pieces, picked up pieces, picked up pieces. Um, but this last time around, what I did differently was I went to a women's NA, Narcotics Anonymous 12-step fellowship meeting, and just really told the whole truth of where I was, and allowed women to I allowed the women to connect with me, and then I
Awesome.
learned how to connect with them.
Yeah.
um, and for me, I was going to church at that time, so I had another family that was sort of supporting me and loving me when I was learning how to be loved. And uh, so that was sort of a foundation. I went to that women's meeting every week for 5 years. um, and things have shifted, and so I've explored a lot of other things since then. Neither of those are my the main anchors of my recovery anymore. Um, but they were bricks, and huge bricks in the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Good
my
to know. I
recovery
appreciate you
is
sharing
different.
that.
Yeah,
It's so helpful, I think, to hear what's actually working for people. There's
yeah, yeah. Well, what's working for me now is nature and being connected to spirituality through nature and hiking, and
very cool.
my dog. Honestly, my dog and
Yeah, there you
cat
go. Yeah.
keep me grounded and connected. I think they're
Little
little
Buddha.
spiritual yeah, they're little spiritual beings.
Totally.
My dog is a gift from God. I mean, she's perfect for me. And I love the red road to Wellbriety. Um,
Say it again. You
yeah,
love.
the red road. So it's the Wellbriety movement. It's a Native
Oh,
American
okay.
path. And
Is
that
that Don
blew my mind.
Coyes?
Yep, Don Coyes. Yep.
Yes. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an amazing path, right? Especially if you're someone who likes nature. It's just deeply
Very cool.
connected to the land and the animals and the sky. And I love
Yeah.
that stuff. So
Very
that,
cool.
and I, have some women that I'm always connected with. And so that's what holds me up today.
Nice. One of my earliest experiences in recovery was going into a sweat lodge ceremony, which really
Cool.
opened up my eyes to spirituality and obviously nature. And yeah,
I've
very
never done
grateful.
I definitely want to do that though.
So powerful. At least it was for me.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you sharing your experience, and jumping into the recovery, creativity, storytelling piece. When was it that you always been creative and a storyteller, or was that something that came about in recovery? Like, how did that develop?
I've always been creative, but I put, my degree is theater education. So I wanted to teach
Okay.
and transform people through theater.
Nice.
That was what I thought I was going to do, but I was really messed up at that time. And I just walked away, and I had wanted to go to art school, and, I'd always been in band and choir and all that stuff. But I lost that along the way with the drugs and alcohol. And so I got into recovery, and I started doing advocacy, recovery advocacy, and criminal justice reform, public speaking. And I have this really harrowing, big story, and that, and that, oh, that this happened and this happened and this happened, and I was
Hmm.
telling that story over and over and over in that form. This happened and this happened and this happened. It was really bad, and then this big change came, and it was really great. And it was good. I was doing good work, but it wasn't storytelling. And I got back into creative writing, and then I discovered personal narrative storytelling, which is the art form of telling a true story about yourself in front of a live audience with no notes or script or props or anything. It's just you and your voice to take people on this journey.
Very
And I
cool.
fell in love with that, and I realized that if I added that creative piece to this story that I already had the blueprint of, I could impact people much more. And what I didn't know is that was going to change me in the process. And so it was in 2016 that I kind of figured that out. In 2017, when I started trying to apply it and teach others and develop it, and it's been incredible journey, the healing that I have gotten, the transformation that I have gotten from working on my own stories, but then being an instrument and helping other people transform, it allows us to go into a different space inside of ourselves and see things a different way. It's like creativity is this key that unlocks a different perspective.
Mm,
I've gained so much through the 12 steps. I've gained so much through therapy, but creativity is another thing to add to that in terms of how I process my past. And it's brought a lot of healing and joy and light and love and seeing that I made bad choices, but I had terrible circumstances, and so I can try to love myself back then. Like
hmm.
I was a piece of crap my whole addictive life, and now I go back and say, wow, I was a really hurt
Totally.
person who
Yeah.
was just struggling and doing the best thing
Yeah.
she knew how with the tools that she was given, which were not great tools,
Yeah. Yep.
um, the tools I had at the time, you know. So it's just a loving way of going back into that, and in the group process of doing that, and the workshops that I created is the same kinds of gifts you'll get from any group process, like lifting each other up. We get to be seen
Mm.
in
That's a big
such a
one,
big
right?
way, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
It's
it's like
huge.
I'm revealing this baby story, which is
Hmm.
revealing a brand new version of me that I've never seen before, and
Mm.
you're seeing that with me at the same time in real time, and you're holding that space and loving that little person whoever she may be, right,
Yeah.
through that story, and it's just really powerful deep work.
Yeah, that's great work you're doing. And it's
Yeah.
not, it seems like it's not just being seen, but being seen in a more authentic new way and
Mhm.
having a space for that. Cause we're seen, I mean, somewhat we could argue we're seen all day long, but we're seen in a very kind of narrow, lens. And to open that up, I think is really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've rewritten my whole self, all those past
Very
versions
cool.
of myself. Like I believe I had a personal mythology of what I was like. I was a badass. I was, drug dealer. I was this. I was that. I was this. And now I don't see myself that way through those experiences. I see someone who was backed in a corner and fighting her way out. I see someone who was trapped and thought drug dealing was the best way
Mm.
to supply myself without hurting more people. It just totally really change that mythology. And what that does, like you mentioned, is open up space to be something completely different, new, and much more real.
Yeah. That's just fun. We actually,
Mhm.
at where I'm working, we actually incorporate a theater group every week, and part of that is sometimes is improv, and it's there's hesitation, there's fear, and obviously, but on the other side of that, there's freedom and there's this sense of vitality and aliveness to tap into this new experience and new part of themselves, and it's really really
Yes.
cool to see.
Yes, improv. Oh my gosh, I love doing improv in programs. I love doing improv,
Nice.
period. But yes, it's that release it's the dropping of the facade just a little. You
Mm.
don't have to be naked on the floor, but like you just let it down a little and engage in a different way. And you find things that you never even knew you had, or nobody knows they're a good storyteller, and they get in the class and everyone realizes right off the rip everybody's an amazing storyteller because it's in us already.
Yeah, and
And
we have so much to share, like
yeah.
with addiction and recovery, there's just so much there usually,
Hmm.
good, bad, or if you want to call it that, but on the whole spectrum of experience, it's
Yeah, and so in any
huge.
kind of creativity, it's just it's like our kids selves trying something new and just letting ourselves get into that, and
Yeah,
set ourselves free a little bit to play in the sandbox.
I like that. Yeah. So with sharing stories in 12 step meetings or support groups, how is you've touched on this already, but you want to elaborate on how that's different, like how what you're talking about is different?
Sure. Yeah. So one of the biggest things about recovery storytelling is we're not telling our story. I think so many of us think of like my story. It's a story, a single story, and if it's me, it's 20 plus years. And I can't
Mm.
tell 20 plus years
Yeah.
effectively or had
Yeah.
much impact in telling 20 plus years. But if I take a situation or an individual relationship or a circumstance or whatever and dig in a little bit, then there's so much more I can do with that. And so I think part of it is just that idea of breaking the story down. Sorry, I have a cat that's
That's cute.
I'm,
What's your cat's name?
well, he has a lot of names.
Okay, cool.
One of them
Even
is
better. That speaks to
kid.
the creativity in you.
Well, he's Cheesy Freedom. He's
Cheesy
Little Man.
freedom.
Well,
Nice.
because Nacho Libre, and so we were like, we're gonna really badly translate this to
Uh,
Cheesy Freedom.
that's cool.
But he's also a sideways cat because his head is sideways. He's always sideways. Anyways, we'll try to keep him out of the way. Um, so we get to break it down and take it and make it smaller, and then we get to dig in more, and we don't have to tell everything. And I think one of the things in 12 step is we really try to cover so much, and our purpose is different. We're telling for others more so, and we most of us, and I speak for everybody in 12 step, for myself, I was helping myself by telling my story, but I was also harming myself a little bit because I was in this rut of this was my story, this is my story, this is my story, and never changed. And so with recovery storytelling, with that creativity added in, it's like you can go anywhere. You can do anything with it. You can, it's the art that we're seeking, and the healing is the secondary thing. So if we're going to have fun in an
Interesting.
art form, when that's the goal, it allows us to let go of all the other things we're like trying to do. And you
Interesting.
just are
Yeah.
in that moment of connection and creativity with each other. So
So
many
rather than
people,
having healing being like the primary objective or goal, it's more of like, expression, connection, and then
yeah,
healing's a byproduct of that.
exactly. Yeah, the
That's cool.
exploration of the art form, like the workshop is so, I teach a lot of form, a lot of the science of the art form of
Hmm.
storytelling, because it's a tool, and the rest of it's exploration and connection with others. And so it's not telling my whole thing to a big room. It's a lot more compact than that, and it seems to be invite much more exploring and opening up in that process.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of dovetails on something else I wanted to ask. What is a recovery storytelling workshop like? Once again, you've touched on this already a bit, but
Yeah,
you want to
this is
elaborate?
really hard to explain. I have a really hard time like describing it in for people, like for flyers and using
Yeah,
a lot of stuff, because it's really hard
totally
to
get it.
define. But
Sounds more like an
basically,
experience than anything else.
oh yeah, it's
And it's
definitely
hard
an
to describe
experience.
experiences, right? It's better to have them, but
Yes, and so many people at the end are like, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea it was going to be like this. This was amazing. Like you never could have explained to me ahead what this would be like." So that's my
I get it. Yeah.
pitch line or something. Um, so it's 8 hours, usually spread out over 3 days of a weekend. You can have a story idea, but I invite you to not have a story idea. It's usually about 8 to 16 people. And we learn a little bit about recovery movement, recovery messaging, and recovery advocacy, because that's where this all started for me. And I think it's important for that groundwork. And then I just give prompts, and people break out in pairs and just tell the story to each other for the first time. We were getting a little craft, and you tell it again to a different person and getting a little
And
more.
you're just going off the cuff with the story. I mean, you can come prepared, but at the same time, you're just picking,
This is a great
whatever's up in the moment.
I give
Mm.
prompts to get you thinking. We spend
Yeah.
about 15 minutes just sort of like think of a time when dot dot dot. You had a really, really scary phone call to make. Maybe you put
Mm.
maybe you
That's a
put it
good one.
off.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't have a choice to put it off. Like you had to take the call, you had to make the call at a certain time and you were dreading it, or maybe it was totally out of the blue that you had, and so people can start getting their wheels turning and thinking of things. And then we take that little baby story and we sort of flesh it out and develop it further. It's all about connection in the group and verbal processing. And we shape it and form it so that by the end, participants have a 3 to 5 minute, pretty well formed story that has, all the elements of good personal narrative storytelling, and it packs this incredible emotional punch for recovery, positive messaging, and advocacy. Like
Nice.
they break. I say I'm a translator to take these stories that we tell each other and we all understand, and translate them and make them relatable and understandable to a general audience, which expands our reach so much. So we're not just talking to each other about these things, we're talking to the world, and bringing people in.
Very important.
Yeah.
I definitely respect that, and we need more of that, in my opinion.
Yes.
And in a fun, authentic way, not a dogmatic way.
Yeah, and it's amazing. If anyone's interested to sort of see what the end result looks like, I did a project with the Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery, CCAR, and we made 25 videos, and they're all on my website or on CCAR's website. You can go to either one. It's ccar.us or meghannperry.com. Another cat situation. Sorry about the noise. Or my YouTube channel, Meghann Perry, but they're all very beautifully produced and they all tell a really impactful recovery story. A lot of them are people that are not in personal recovery. Their loved ones or allies, talking about what their recovery journey has been like.
Nice.
And, separate from their loved ones. So it's really powerful what comes out of the workshops and what it can do. It offers hope for people. Like I know a lot of people who are like, I always go and watch your videos when I'm feeling down or I need some hope shots or whatever.
That's the best, right? That's when you're like,
Yeah. So it's
on your mission.
Cool what can happen as a result, like not just in it, but afterwards too. It's blown me away. Of course I believe in it and I'm going to tell all the great things about it, but I really personally had no idea in 2016 what this does for people, and what it's done for me. I mean, it's radically changed my life in the best way. And I'm sorry.
That's okay.
He's gonna stay what
Makes for a good story.
COVID-19, the realities of
So when is your next workshop?
So the next workshop is February 26th, 27th, and 28th. You can, there are some spots left. It is so much fun. And when you look and you're like, oh my gosh, that's like half my weekend. It's so much fun.
That is your weekend.
So much. Yeah. It's just so worth it.
Cool. It's all right. It's not that bad.
Okay, you can go to my website to find out about. You go to the course registration page on the website.
MeghannPerry.com.
MeghannPerry.com. Cool. Yeah, with 2 N's.
So for those of you watching, I'll put this in the notes on the Facebook Live, and this will also be uploaded to YouTube, and this information will be in there as well. Yeah, and then another really exciting thing that's happening is on March 5th, there is a story slam that CCAR is doing. So Phil Valentine and I will be hosting a story slam. And what a story slam is everybody comes. Nice. If you want to tell a 5-minute story, you can put your name in the hat, but it's the chat. And then we'll draw, 6 or 8 people at random to tell a true 5-minute story that they've prepared, or maybe it's spontaneous on the spot. And then the audience gets to vote for a winner, and then Phil and I will also pick a winner. So, and very cool. The prizes are pretty impressive. I saw you just won the CCAR essay contest, right?
did. Yes.
So, $500 for that or something?
$500.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And I won it like 2 years ago or 3 years ago too. And I was like, yes, this is
Hell
real money.
yeah, definitely. It's nice to do what you love, and not bad making money doing it.
I mean, really, I don't make hardly anything with recovery storytelling, and that is just fine because it's my passion and my love. I mean, it is, um, but yeah, to be able to just like write an essay or enter a thing and get real money, and that's why we have real prizes for the story slam, because this is real work, it's real art, and we value it, and it's so important to value our own art and to have other people validate it, value it, and have it be seen and known. And I think storytelling is really accessible. You don't need materials, you don't need to buy anything. um, yes, there's tons of special training if you wanted to get that far in it, but it's everyone has a way to tell. And as I
Very
say,
cool.
everyone has a voice. Even if you don't have a voice, you can write. You could. I mean, there's just storytelling is accessible to everybody. Everybody can do it, and true, authentic sharing of um, of your like vulnerable self is like the most powerful elixir. It's just so amazing in the world that we live with, and to just have that connection with others, and
Yeah,
share in that authentic way.
great. Very cool. Well, I look forward to checking out I know I can't do this workshop, unfortunately, but I look forward to checking it out, and I will be there in the near future for one of them. So thank you again for your time. The last question I want to ask you is what keeps your creativity or recovery fresh nowadays?
It's funny, I just sort of realized this recently in a podcast, but that like my sense of curiosity, I think, and sort of wonder. I walk my dog on the athletic fields behind my house every day, and they're all manicured and chain link fenced and all this stuff. But I find every day I find something really amazing. Like it might be the shadows and the angle of the sun on the with the chain link on the snow, like the pattern, or
Yeah.
it might be like frost on a dandelion or something. But just feeling connected enough to the world to notice and see and appreciate things like that make me feel alive and connected and part of the world, which is a challenge right now. So I think that is, and then my endless curiosity about people. I love teaching storytelling because I just want to know. I want to know all the things. I'm fascinated by people, and
Yeah, imagine you've heard so many different stories.
I hold a lot of people and a lot of stories in this art here. It's such a gift to me.
Good
To be
medicine.
a witness to it. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Thanks, Megan. I appreciate your time. It's good to meet with you. And I'm glad we are able to work this out, even though I messed up the schedule a little bit. My apologies again, but thank you for your time. And I look forward to hopefully you getting some of our people from this area, from the group in your workshop. If not, I'll definitely be there eventually.
Awesome.
And we'll stay in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure.